They left her out there to die. Not fast, not loud, but slow and quiet, like tossing a broken dog out into the sweltering heat and waiting for the sun to finish the job. It was August in Red Ridge Valley, one of those months where the air barely stirs. The valley lay still under a sun so fierce it could make old wood crack and cattle go blind if they ran too long. Ethan Cole, 38, had lived through enough hell to know when something was wrong. He wasn't soft, not after burying a brother, watching a barn burn, and losing a woman who once called him home. But what he saw that day, that wasn't the kind of thing a man forgets. She was standing on the edge of his property, near a fence post he hadn't repaired in years, barefoot, dress soaked to her knees. A coarse burlap sack was tied tight over her head, with no openings, no mercy. Her wrists were bound, the rope cuts deep enough to rival barbed wire. And still, she didn't move, didn't run, didn't scream. She just waited, as if she already knew no one was coming. Now tell me, have you ever seen something so wrong it makes your teeth ache? Ethan stepped down from his horse. He didn't say a word, just walked slow, like a man approaching a cliff he couldn't see the bottom of. The girl whispered, her voice dry enough to crack mid-syllable, "Please, take them off." Not loud, not dramatic, just empty, like the words were all she had left. Ethan's fingers, rough from fence posts and splitting firewood, reached for the knot. It was tied tight with hate. It took 3 full minutes to undo. And when the sack dropped, what he saw wasn't a curse. It was 18 years of someone else's cruelty. In the silence, Ethan didn't ask her name, didn't ask where she came from or what had happened. He just helped her onto the saddle, as gentle as he could, and rode slow back to the cabin. The ride was quiet, but not an awkward quiet, more like the kind of silence that comes when two people have seen too much. Back at the ranch, Ethan poured her a tin cup of water. She drank it like it hurt, but didn't spill a drop. He boiled a potato and left her the bigger half. He didn't explain why. He didn't need to. She sat near the fire, wrapped in one of his old blankets. She didn't speak for nearly 20 minutes. Ethan didn't push hell. Pushing never helped anyone open up. Not out here. Finally, she looked at him and said softly, "They said if a man looked too long, he'd get cursed." Ethan didn't blink. "Doesn't sound like a curse. Sounds like cowards." She smiled. Small, crooked, but it was a smile. The next morning, Ethan found her hanging his shirts on the line. She wasn't asking to stay, but she wasn't asking to leave either. But word in a town like Red Ridge spreads faster than a rattlesnake in dry brush. By sundown, the saloon was buzzing with stories. Some said she was Navajo. Some said she was a witch. One old drunk even claimed she was a ghost Ethan had dug up and fallen in love with. Ethan didn't give a damn what they thought. He had fences to mend, a horse with a limp, and now a girl with rope burns who flinched every time he coughed too loud. But that evening, things changed. 2 men on horseback came up the south road. They didn't wave, didn't smile, just sat there looking at the house as if it owed them something. Ethan stepped onto the porch, his shotgun still hanging on the rack above the door. Inside, the girl froze, her hands shaking, eyes wide, as if she recognized the smell of these men without even seeing them. They hadn't come to say hi, and Ethan knew if they were here now, more would follow. He didn't recognize the 2 men, but he knew the type. Too clean for ranch hands, too quiet for travelers. And they sat their saddles, like men who thought they owned whatever they looked at. The taller one tipped his hat. "Looking for a girl," he said. "Auburn hair. Where's the sack?" Ethan didn't blink. "Haven't seen her." The other one laughed low. "She limps a little. Pretty if you can get past the silence inside." The girl held her breath. Her hands gripped the edge of the table as if it might float her away. Ethan stepped down off the porch, real calm. "She ain't here. You can ride on. Thing is," the first man said, "she ain't yours to keep now." That did it. Ethan's voice dropped low, but it hit like thunder. "She ain't anyone's to keep. She's not cattle. She's not property. She's a person." The men didn't push further. Not yet. They turned their horses and rode off. But the way they looked back told Ethan one thing, clear as day: they weren't done. That night the girl didn't cry. She didn't speak. She just sat by the fire, holding a hawk feather she'd found near the fence earlier that morning. Funny thing about feathers, they always show up after storms. She looked at Ethan, her voice barely there. "They'll come back." "Maybe," he said. The next morning she wasn't hiding. She was walking the fence line in Ethan's old boots, his shirt tucked in like she belonged. And when Ethan asked if she wanted to stay, she didn't say yes. She just said, "I'm tired of running." Now, I'll tell you something. If you've followed this story this far, you're the kind of person who believes people can change, who believes maybe the West didn't kill all the kindness after all. And if that's you, stick around, because the worst part of this story, the part that still haunts folks in Red Ridge, is coming up next. They came back on the third night, not the second. 4 men this time. No lanterns, no greetings, just the sound of hooves. Slow, deliberate, like men who weren't afraid of the dark. Ethan heard them before they reached the gate. He always did the way a man hears things after years of sleeping with one ear open. He stepped outside with the shotgun. He didn't raise it. He didn't need to. Not yet. A leader. Same man as before. He dismounted Caleb Thorne. That name had floated around border towns for years. Missing girls, unpaid debts, marked cards. Caleb spat in the dirt. "She belongs to the man who paid," he said. Ethan didn't flinch. "She's not property." Caleb stepped forward. "She's a curse inside." She heard every word. But she didn't curl up this time. Didn't hide in corners or behind blankets. She opened the door barefoot, wrapped in Ethan's old quilt. Her eyes were steady. "You afraid of me?" she asked. The other men looked confused. Caleb took a half step back before catching himself. "You beat me," she said. "You sold me. You left me in the dirt, said I'd bring ruin. But look who's shaking now." Ethan raised the shotgun. "Calm as a sunrise. You'll ride out now. And if I see you near this ranch again, you won't ride out at all." They didn't argue, didn't threaten. They just turned their horses and disappeared into the dark. And when they were gone, she sat on the porch, not crying, just breathing like someone who hadn't in a long time. Ethan sat beside her, didn't say much, didn't need to. After that night, things got quiet. Not the kind of quiet that comes from fear, but the kind you earn. The kind that settles in when storms pass and nothing breaks anymore. She didn't hide. She didn't flinch. She walked the fence lines at dawn like she owned the sun. And Ethan didn't ask questions, he just watched, like a man who knew he was watching something heal. Then one day, a wagon came up the trail. Slow, tired. Inside was a woman, her dress faded, her shoes cracked, a child asleep on her lap. She stepped down, looked at the girl, and whispered, "I was with you back in New Mexico before they split us." The girl didn't cry. She just helped her down, cradled the child in her arms, and led them inside. That night, Ethan didn't say much. He just opened the barn door and pointed to the loft. "There's room." And that's how it started. Not with fanfare, not with speeches, but with people who'd been thrown away deciding they weren't done. They fixed up the old south room. The new woman stitched quilts out of canvas and shirts. The girl planted herbs near the cotton tree. The kids sorted nails by size and sang when she thought no one was listening. By spring, the town stopped whispering. Some folks waved. Some dropped off canned peaches. No one asked questions. She never wore the sack again. But one day, she pulled it from the drawer, walked to the edge of the pasture, and hung it from the fence. She let the wind take it, didn't chase it, didn't look back. Now, let me ask you this. How many folks you know have been treated like less than dirt and still got up and kept going? How many got told they were cursed and still found the courage to be kind? Sometimes, the strongest people aren't the loudest. They're the ones who don't ask permission to matter. They just do. And if her story hit something in you, if it made you think of someone who survived more than they should have had to, go ahead and hit that like button. Maybe even subscribe. Because out here in the West, we don't bury people in silence. We tell their stories. And maybe, just maybe, you'll stick around for the next ones.